Do you find yourself unhappy, depressed, wondering why me, going through tough times, wondering how to turn it around, wondering why these types of things even have to happen for people? And here I am again and again. And I did all those things, and I took all those courses, or I read all those books, and here I am again. So I'd like to share with you what is happening when you're feeling this way, and how to allow that to work in your favor instead of dropping you down into a deeper state of confusion. I'm Dr. Sue Morter of Morter Institute for Bioenergetics, and for more than 30 years I've been working with doctors and clients and patients and teaching them how to turn these types of situations into something brilliant, into something that benefits and contributes to healing, rather than continuing to add to the confusion or the compression or even the depression that we were feeling originally. So we wonder, why me? Why does this happen in my life? And I look across the room at this person, or I work with someone who seems to never have those kinds of sensations going on. And I want to share this with you. When I'm teaching a course, I can have hundreds of people in the room, and I can ask how many people have felt like it's only you, that you don't fit in, that you're the one that doesn't get it, that doesn't have it connected, and you wonder why other people seem to have it easier than you, and you think that there's something broken or wrong or missing with you. At some point in your life, you have felt this way. And I will tell you that nearly 100% of the people raise their hand. And then I ask them to look around and see that they're in good company. Because when we think that it's only me and that I'm isolated, I want you to understand that that is an action of the mind. The mind thinks that way when it is not connected to the true self, to the essential self, to the core authentic self. Here's what happens. When we land here, we splat and we disperse, and our mind goes one way and our body goes another and our breath goes another way, and the whole true self is just hanging out, waiting to see if it's ever going to be safe to actually drop into this life and live freely and authentically without an audit or an edit going on all the time. And what happens in that moment is the subtle presence of who we really are, this subtle, authentic, pure awareness that we are, just consciousness. That's what we really are. We land on the mind because the mind looks the most capable of helping us survive this circumstance. We look around to see, what happened? How do we fit in? How do I pretty much, manage my survivorship, my safety? How do I manage the circumstances to get the people to keep feeding me and to keep fitting in and to belong? And we hook into that, and it becomes a habit, a way of living. And we become identified as the mind. And in the course of your life, at some point, you're going to peel off of that mind and sit down in your authenticity. You're going to peel away from your beliefs and your ideas of an illusionary world where you're not enough, or that somebody else isn't enough, and that this is wrong and it shouldn't be happening. You're going to peel away from that whole part of you that takes you on that ride. And you're going to sit down inside yourself. And here's what I know. I've worked with lots and lots of people. And what I know is that even if it's in the last 5 minutes of your life, you're going to get what I'm talking about. My objective on the planet is to make sure that it doesn't take that long. That you start learning this now so that you can live the remainder of your life in such a fashion that you're victorious and that you're masterfully managing and creating your life experience, and aware that you're creating it all along the way for purposes of awakening to your highest self. You're made of universal intelligence, cosmic truth. You're made of the unified field of energy compressed into a body, compressed into physical form. Science is showing us, of course, that physical form is just compressed energy, including you. You are made of energy. You are pure consciousness in a body that you've packed together so that you can have a life here on this planet. And while you're learning how to awaken to what I'm talking about, your life can be improving every step of the way. You don't have to become the master before things start improving. You just have to start to understand the context that I'm speaking about. This context I teach in the Energy Codes coursework, and I'm showing you how to unattach from that believing machine, that believing mind, and realize you are so much more than that. You are so much more than your mind. You are this soulful self, this presence that has a mind and has a body, and those two faculties are supposed to be serving your experience here. But when we're attached to the mind only, the mind starts operating in such a frequency that it freaks out, and it becomes feeling inadequate and insufficient, because it is. The mind alone is not enough. When you're attached to the mind, you will always feel like you're not enough. The more you pour your attention on logic and science and logistics and the predictability of things, you become more controlling because you need that prediction in order to know who you are. There's another part of you that lives in the miraculous. There's a part of you that lives in the untapped, unknown, unyet discovered. And that part of you is here to be discovered, but you need your mind to be on it, to discover it. And you need your body to be able to help translate the languages of the soul to the mind. Think of it this way. The soul speaks to the body, and the body speaks to the mind. And the mind doesn't listen. It's busy over there writing stories. So we have to bring the mind back onto the body and let the soul speak a language that you can learn to speak so easily. I teach that in my Energy Codes coursework. And I completely want to invite you into that, of course, because you can learn to become masterful at recognizing this. So that when it's time for you to recognize the gifts in your life, it becomes easy to do. Now, let me explain it this way. On your way into this life, I want you to just think of this idea that you stopped at the bus stop in time to catch the bus to come to Earth. And while you were at the bus stop, you engaged in conversations that allowed people and exchanging with other beings that were also coming in to come up with some soul contracts, some ways of agreeing to come in and help each other wake up. And as we make those agreements, we recognize that we're going to have to push each other, nudge each other. We're going to have to hold each other's feet to the fire in order to ever feel the need to pull ourselves off of that mind. We're going to have to contribute to each other's pain in an attempt to nudge us into this great awakening of, hey, I'm not interested in living in that kind of pain anymore. I'm interested in coming home to another way, a grace-filled, love-filled way of living and learning and awakening. And so there's a moment in your life where you will say, pain, no more. I don't have to do this. I do not have to argue for my okayness. I can find it in here. And as I do, I begin to plant myself in such a way I've never known before. So we make these agreements at the bus stop, and then we drop down in here and start living them out. So someone agreed to be the one who pushes you, who pushes your buttons, who triggers you, who causes friction and a rub in your life until you get so tired of thinking that you know the way things are supposed to go, that you surrender into the possibility that there could be something more for you to glean, something more for you to benefit from. And when we do begin to find that something more, everything changes. So I've had experiences in my life that were gut-wrenching, things that I thought would never happen. You can read about them in the book that I wrote, the Energy Codes book, just as an example. But the idea is this, that when something happens that's overwhelming, that causes you to question your lovability, that causes you to question your okayness, your worthiness in this life, in this world, I want to assure you that those things are happening so that you can find another version of you. So I was written out of my Father's will, took me to my knees. I thought, what worse could possibly happen? Not because of the things that I would receive or not receive, but in that moment, it was about the withdrawal of love. To me, I interpreted it as, you are unlovable, you don't belong, you weren't good enough, there was something there. And all the while, I now know that that happened in my life so that I could evaluate my worthiness, my opinion of myself. What did I accept for myself? Was I lovable? Did I allow myself to be these things? And then what I recognized was, I didn't receive those gifts because I didn't need them. I recognized that the universe was showing me, life was unfolding in such a fashion that I could recognize that I didn't get the support because I didn't need it. And that was the greatest gift I could have ever been given. And so by it unfolding in this way, I was given the greatest gift by my Father and the circumstances that unfolded that I could ever receive, which was the recognition that I am and have always been all that I will ever need. It doesn't mean that I have to go it alone, but it does mean that I can if I need to. And it does mean that I have the power within me to feel, to give, and to receive the love that I've been seeking from the outer world inward, that it's right here within all the time. And I want you to be able to interpret the life happenings in the course of your lifetime with the same kind of clarity and certainty that everything that is happening in your life is a gift. It is all a gift. So if you're unhappy or depressed or in pain and wondering why you're going through tough times again and why it has to be this way, I want you to understand that you're on the brink of recognizing what I'm talking about. And all you have to do is learn how to peel off of the mind that keeps running those kinds of questions, because there are some better questions to be asking. The better question is, how is the life that I'm living serving me? How are the things that have been happening? How have they been trying to serve me to awaken to my greatness, but I wasn't interpreting them that way. I was interpreting them as if, how could this happen? Oh my gosh, poor me, this is horrible. And all the while, if those are the only kinds of questions that I'm ever going to ask, I'm always going to be stuck in this world of lack and missing something and wanting. There is another message that's trying to come through your life. And when you learn to build the neurocircuitry to perceive that more accurate message, you can live from a place of abundance all the time. So my invitation for you is to join me in the Energy Codes coursework, to read the Energy Codes book. You can find it on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, at Books A Million. You can go online and find it. It's easy to find. We hit #1 in the LA Times, and we were in the USA Today bestseller list, and #1 on Amazon. Lots of people are reading this book and absolutely benefiting from its contents in such a life-changing manner that I'd love for you to know about it. And so, if you haven't read it, plug in that way. If you have and you'd like to have some personal exchanges in the level 1 of my coursework, I strongly invite you to come into that, because I will give you the experience of unpacking your story in such a way that you see firsthand, experientially, how it's been serving your greatness all along. But you were missing it because no one taught us how to perceive this way. So through the great awakenings that have occurred in my life and the integration of those experiences, I've put together an amazing body of work called the Energy Codes coursework. And I invite you to join me there if you'd like to feel the transformation that you are destined to have in this life sooner rather than later. So blessings to you all. I look forward to seeing you in one of those classes sometime. Much love. Namaste.